Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting week of the next issue. This week concludes our build-up to one of the greatest grudge matches of all time, Superman vs. Batman. Now, for those of you who haven't yet, feel free to like us and share us on Facebook and on Twitter, or visit our website, theculturecache.com. Feel free to leave plenty of comments and opinions, or even extra facts that I may have missed, in the comments below. And if there's anything you would like any of us on our shows here on the Culture Cache to cover, feel free to donate to us on Patreon. Now, without further ado, let's get started. Now, actually, I should say, before we get started here, one last call out. If you haven't yet checked out the first video before this one and the article that complements this video and the last one, you probably should do it. But if not, I am going to do a little bit of recap here anyway, as I'm using everything that we've discussed in the last two to kind of build upon what we're about to see in the upcoming movie. Now, one thing I want to make clear is I do enjoy movies of all shapes and sizes, and obviously I'm going to enjoy comic book movies more so than your standard movie. But this is not going to be the time or place that I'm going to be picking into, or nitpicking, as I should say, any of the casting or anything like that. For what we're going to be covering today, I don't really care who's playing Batman or Superman for any of this particular role. What we're going to be covering today is the build-up and the trailer stories, I guess you should say, the build-up for Man of Steel and the story that is presented so far from the trailers and what we've seen previously and some of the topics we've touched upon beforehand, and how this merges into or leads up into what's going to be a pretty epic fight in general. Now, one thing I'm going to say right off the bat here is that one of the things I definitely enjoy from seeing the trailers, and this is something that I can also comment from Man of Steel, because movies, I won't say all movies do this well, a lot of movies don't usually do this well, but when you're dealing with a movie version of a comic book or a movie version of a video game or something that spans a large amount of time that they have to cram into a tight film, because you never know if you're going to get a sequel or even a trilogy. Up until Marvel started doing their cinematic universe, having an entire, well, heck, the term cinematic universe was just weird, you know? I mean, you would have Aliens 3. I mean, honestly, the only movie franchises that went that long for the longest time, and I'm not counting, like, even, we go into Harry Potter or, in the recently, or I won't say recently, but the Star Wars movies getting so many. But before all that, usually your horror movies were the only ones that went more than 3, maybe even 4 movies. So we're really getting this, now that comic book movies have started this cinematic universe trend more than just, I hate to say 7 movies isn't really what you'd call a trend, but Harry Potter did well with it, and Star Wars is doing very well as well. I was about to say getting there, and I only meant that term in the sense of they are now at 7 and moving on up themselves. But in the term of having all these different superhero movies connected to one another in one giant universe and not just following these same characters around for several movies, that's a newer trend per se. And so now we don't have to feel like they have to cram everything in. But they still did an interesting take on it, because you have to realize that Man of Steel came out after the New 52 launch. The costume's very resemblant of that, and the way they did the origin story for him resembles that as well. You have a Superman that, while he did things while he was younger, the whole Superboy trend from Smallville was not there. Superboy was kind of treated more like what you would say Batman was. He was more like an urban legend. A few people may have seen him here and there, but most people kept it a secret. No one really could confirm or deny this child with superpowers. So he didn't really make his debut as the Superman to the world until Zod had interfered. And so you kind of got that mixture of old and new with the newer comics and newer stories from the New 52 in there. But you also had that that buildup of, yes, Superman's debut was saving the world from his own race. And so that still kind of kept that doubt there, and that doubt that we're seeing in the trailers for Dawn of Justice. Yes, this superpower being has just managed to save us, but he saved us from more members of his own race. We don't know this guy. We know nothing about him. He's been living on this planet the whole time. He's an alien. What does that mean for us? Did he bring a virus with him? We've seen his power. He could knock down the whole city in an instant if he wanted to. And that's the vibe you get from a lot of these trailers is, yes, he saved us, but us as a society wonder why. It's no one can be that honest, that good, that pure. We don't believe that. Whereas, back when Superman debuted way back when, having that superhero in storybooks was one thing, and even a few on, TV and radio and such as time went by. But using today's society, your first thought when someone does something really nice for you is usually going to be why. If you don't know who that person is, if you're sitting there changing your tire and here comes somebody out from behind you and their intentions to help you, you don't know that until they present themselves. And even then, even as they're helping you, you're wondering, are they changing my tire out or helping me change my tire to steal the car? You don't know. There's that doubt. And the trailers kind of play on that. You have the followers of Superman who worship him like a deity, but then you have the government and the military and everybody really don't know if they can trust him. And it's because of that quote-unquote rushed origin story. There was no build-up. He wasn't around for ages. He just, to society, to Earth at large, he just showed up. All of, his adopted parents knew better. They raised him. And even some of the kids he might have grown up with in Smallville kind of knew a little better. But that's not what we're presented with to society. We're also presented with a much smarter, wrong term to use there, but quicker to the chase there, or to the prize, I should say, version of Lois. This could also be deemed as more of a rush, but the fact that she was able to track down his origin and track him all the way back to Smallville from all of his deeds goes to show this version of Lois is definitely a lot like her version in the comics, where she's stubborn, she goes straight at the prize and does not give up on it. But this one does not, just stay in Metropolis. She's willing to go really out there to find this prize, to find out what is the identity of this guy. So the origins and the stories here are a good bit different. Likewise with Batman, we're presented with an older Batman, which plays on The Dark Knight Returns, mind you, who has lost a Robin, as we see in the trailers. He has definitely a history with the Joker there. He's definitely, I'm not going to say broken, but darker than we think. You also catch in, I want to say it's the second trailer, second or third, whenever you see that clip of them dropping him into the building and he's in that fight with all those guys and just zipping around and beating them up. That's actually an interesting play on anyone that ever plays the Arkham games. If you watch that scene and you played the Arkham games at all, you just get that feel like you're playing the game again, and you kind of want to look down and see if you've got the controller in your hand, because that's exactly what you're getting. Even to the sound effects, the way he zips from one soldier to another. If you played the Arkham games and you haven't seen that trailer, you need to go watch it. Like I said, it's the second or third trailer. You'll understand what I'm talking about when he starts that fight there. But this is definitely a darker Dark Knight, and pardon the pun there. But another interesting thing they bring from the New 52 here is we notice that Batman in a lot of the fight scenes is throwing everything he has at him, and for most of the scenes, Superman's not really dealing with much of it. Taking the bullets, taking the car, taking everything that's thrown at him, and kind of shrugging it off for a lot of the scenes we end up seeing. And it lets you really think that this is a version of Batman, while he's doing his homework and he's trying his best, he hasn't discovered kryptonite yet. There is a quick snippet in one of the trailers. By the way, none of this is spoilery unless you're just really dodging trailers at this point, but my apologies if it ends up becoming spoilery. If you've been trying to dodge the trailers, my apologies there. But at the same time, these trailers have been out for a while. They're all over the TV, the internet, and everything. So there's not really much chance, if you're listening to this, that you haven't at least tried to watch one of them. But going back to what I'm saying here, you see Lex Luthor with a giant piece of kryptonite. And this is something that will definitely come into play. For anyone that's seen the third trailer, you know what I'm talking about. Batman starts showing some leverage on Superman, something that technically should not happen if there's not something there to weaken him. Now, given it looks like a lot of the fight happens at night, but Superman's solar-powered body does not lose energy that quickly just because of being out in nightfall. That does not happen, or at least it's not happened in any other version. This is, once again, an alternate universe. You'd have to check with DC to see what Earth they consider this, quote-unquote, but it's not the prime Earth, it's not the main continuity Earth. So this is their version, this is another take on that Superman and that Batman. It's not even New 52, even though he's wearing the same costume. This is a whole different universe to it. And in this universe, Batman is trying everything he's got, kind of like he did in New 52, but he doesn't know Superman's weakness. At least not most of them, per se. Given without the movie being out, we don't know how much Superman has released. There's a clip in the trailer that shows that he's talking to senators and the government and stuff, and how much information he's willing to give out is how much Batman probably knows, on top of whatever he's managed to get from whenever he was in Metropolis, which you see again. Once again, I hate to say this, but a lot of the stuff is coming from the trailers here. You see him in Metropolis when it's being destroyed, so he's there. He's seeing the fight with Zod. So, being Batman, this is his chance to be able to build up on that, to discover any weaknesses, to get that impression. And we end up seeing that is Batman, or I should say Bruce, says at one point that if we believe there's even a 1% chance that Superman is going to turn on us, we can't take that risk. And that's kind of that mindset you're getting of Batman doesn't trust anybody. And this is the dark, paranoid Bruce / Batman, because he has lost a Robin. And he doesn't have any friends. This is the dawn of the Justice League, so there aren't any other superheroes before him and Superman that we know of at this point. And so without that there, you've got the Superman that feels like he's the one that has to protect everyone. He's got all these powers. No one else on Earth can handle it. He has to be the one to protect people, which is a touch on the main version of Superman. Likewise with Batman. He's the one who feels like he has to be able to protect everyone because only he can face the darkness in the world. Only he can be able to protect us from that and give us a light by absorbing the darkness. It's again that mortality versus immortality trait. Superman believes he's invincible. He's going to stand there and take everything. To him, when he's facing humans, anyone in mankind, he is immortal. While Bruce, especially when he's facing someone that's got all these powers and he knows nothing about weakness here for him or anything like that, is definitely facing and having to use his own mortality and try and make himself better than he was before. So now comes the big problem I think, at least I know I'll have with the movie, is, I hate to say it, but this movie's going to come off like your standard DC Marvel or any intercompany crossover that has a fight like this. There's not going to be a clear winner. You're going to get Batman starting the fight, not really starting. There's going to be something there that ends up causing them to look at each other and say, we have to have this battle. Someone's going to get framed for a murder or something. You never know. Lex is going to do something to make them think they absolutely have to do this. You already see ideas of this when Clark mentions to Bruce about there being a bat vigilante that everyone's scared of and why Gotham hasn't done anything about it yet. And so Clark already doesn't like Batman's tactics. Likewise, Batman I won't say fears, but then again, there's not really much other way of saying it, fears what Superman can be. He's already faced the Joker. What happens if this guy turns out to be a super-powered, invincible version of the Joker? How do you stop that when he already has so much trouble dealing with regular Joker? So you're going to get that fight. It's going to happen. That's the main selling point of the movie here, but you're going to get the build-up to it, and then it's going to happen. You're going to get, more than likely, Batman facing Superman with everything he's got. Nothing's happening. Nothing's working, but he's doing his best. He's throwing everything he's got. And then somewhere in this is going to be the kryptonite, or something anyway, that's going to sap Superman's powers to a degree, and that's when Batman's going to take over the fight. And whereas Superman is used to having his power, this version of him is very used to having his power. And while he has went out and done a lot of adventuring, he hasn't had all the fight training that Bruce has had. So when it comes to the real combat technique, that's when Bruce is going to kick in, and a weakened Superman is not going to be able to deal with that. And of course, once again with the trailer showing us, the middle of this fight the fight itself is going to get interrupted with no clear winner by Doomsday. And then stopping that with Wonder Woman and preventing Lex from doing whatever his big final idea is here. So, if you're going into this movie just to see this epic fight, awesome. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be great. You're gonna get to really see... I think one of the things the trailers really show on this is that it really proves and really magnifies that whole thing of Superman feeling he's, really absorbing that godlyhood that everyone's worshiping him about and everything. Kinda, I won't say he's letting it get to his head, but you kind of start to get that vibe like he is kind of getting a little egotistical about it. And Bruce's, once again, I can't let this being just run around go unchecked. I have to do something to put him in his place and show him that mankind is not weak, that we can take care of ourselves, and while it's basically one of those, while we appreciate the help you gave us, we still don't trust you, and by the way, if we absolutely have to, we will kick you off our planet. That's kind of what you get with Bruce. There's no, both of these heroes, at least, don't seem like they're the killers that a lot of people would say that they could or may become. Superman's still showing his remorse for killing Zod in Man of Steel, and because they've already kind of linked the Suicide Squad movie to the Dawn of Justice movie, that Bruce hasn't killed the Joker. So neither one, while Superman's got a death under his belt here, it was very much he didn't have a lot of choice, which we're not going to go into that. Once again, I'm not here to play on things that I agree or disagree with the film. The film itself is not my forte. My forte is the comics and the story to it. So we're not going to go into that. Right now we're going to go into the fact of, when it comes down to it, these heroes are not going to kill each other. Bruce will try to end the fight any way necessary, and much like... This is where it's going to get interesting. Superman kills if he absolutely feels it's necessary, and against Batman, you're not really getting that vibe that he feels he's going to need to kill Batman, because he starts the fight, from everything you can see, he starts the fight looking like he's going to end this pretty quickly anyway. He wants Batman to give it all and show him how futile it is and how pointless, and Superman's going to bring him to justice for whatever lies Lex has told or whatever. But Batman, on the other hand, Batman is going to try and take him down, and if that means his own death to protect humanity, because that's what he thinks he's doing, is protecting humanity from this alien, that's what he's going to do. And that's what's going to make this fight so dramatic, is you got to see the big rock'em sock'em punch with powers in the last movie with Man of Steel between Superman and Zod. This one you're going to get to see a big knockdown drag out fight. But it's going to be, I guess you could say, a little bit more passionate, because you have two heroes fighting each other for everything they believe in. And a lot of that passion is going to come straight from Batman, because he knows going into this that he's, well, I won't say he knows, but he's not 100% sure he can do this, but he's going to give it everything he's got. And he doesn't 100% know what he's facing, and he's going to throw everything his humanity will allow him to at it. And if he goes down, he goes down, but he is, by God, going to take Superman with him. Now, we're rounding up the video here. I'm kind of running short on time. Really sucks. I apologize. So I'm gonna kind of wrap this up with some good points leading up into the movie. If you kind of want some good material to get into, obviously you'll want to watch the first one that kind of leads into Man of Steel. If you're looking for some reading material that's going to have some call-outs in the movie from it, once again, you'll want to touch base with the New 52, the first 5 issues of Justice League, and if another good comic to pick up that I know they're going to do a lot of plays on for this is The Dark Knight Returns. It's another good call out to the paranoia and darkness that Bruce is kind of living in, even though it's not 100% there, but it kind of helps out in that mentality for him. I also suggest picking up Identity Crisis from DC Comics, as well as a few of the lead-ups like Countdown to Infinite Crisis and some of the stuff that ended up being ties in Infinite Crisis with Batman, because that really goes to show his paranoia and the darkness that he can have with other heroes that he is used to trusting, or in this case, has not learned that he can trust yet. Now, if you like this video, or I should say these series of videos and articles I've done on this topic, feel free to like it and share it. If there's a topic you guys would like me to go into, or if you want me to keep this one going, feel free to donate on Patreon and make a request, much like Chip did with Superman vs. Batman. Now, I expect all you guys to head on down to your local comic book stores, catch up on some of that reading material I mentioned to gear up for the big fight that's coming up, and I hope you all enjoy Superman vs. Batman: Dawn of Justice. I'll see you next week for the next issue.